Welcome back to Two Wheel Trends, where we dive deep into the world of motorcycles, delivering in-depth reviews and insights into the latest trends in the two-wheel industry. Today, we've got something special lined up for you, the 2025 Royal Enfield 125cc. Yes, you heard that right, a Royal Enfield, a brand known for its heavyweight classic motorcycles, has ventured into the 125cc segment. Let's find out if this little wonder holds up to the legacy of the brand or if it's just another small bike lost in the crowd. So, we're going to walk you through every little detail from the design to the engine, performance, and pricing. We'll break it down so that you know exactly what you're getting with this bike. Let's get started. Starting with the overall look of the 2025 Royal Enfield 125cc, you'll notice that while it's a smaller bike compared to the rest of the Royal Enfield lineup, it still maintains that signature look. It's not like they've taken a giant departure from what we know the brand for. You can tell right away that this bike is part of the Royal Enfield family. Let's begin with the front end. The front is immediately recognizable as a Royal Enfield. You've got that retro circular headlamp, which is still an iconic design choice. No LED light strip that you often see on modern bikes. Instead, it's a throwback halogen unit. Now, some may argue that LED would have been a better option, and maybe so in terms of energy efficiency, but Royal Enfield knows their audience. This halogen light gives the bike a warm, almost nostalgic glow in the dark. Surrounding that headlamp is a chrome ring that adds to the classic charm, making it feel both vintage and solid at the same time. Down below, the front fender follows the same old-school, minimalistic design with a slight chrome accent that wraps around the edges. Coming to the side profile, this is where the bike truly shines. Royal Enfield's signature teardrop-shaped fuel tank is still the centerpiece. It's a smaller tank to fit the smaller frame of the 125cc, but it doesn't compromise on style. The Royal Enfield branding is bold, clear, and beautifully placed on the side of the tank. Below the tank, you'll notice the engine, which is smaller than what we're used to seeing on Royal Enfields, but it's neatly housed within the tubular steel frame. The frame itself is exposed, which gives the bike a rugged and raw look, perfect for a no-nonsense commuter bike that still has that vintage flair. There's also something to be said about the paint options available. Royal Enfield offers this bike in a range of solid colors, no flashy graphics or excessive decals, which we think works for a bike like this. You get simple, elegant paint finishes: a classic black, royal blue, and a British green variant, all giving off that heritage vibe that Royal Enfield is so well known for. The matte and gloss finishes are well executed, depending on the color you choose, and they're perfectly complemented by a few chrome touches here and there. The blacked-out exhaust and engine components provide a nice contrast without overpowering the vintage aesthetic. Moving to the rear of the bike, you'll see a tidy tail section. Royal Enfield has kept it clean with a small, well-placed tail light that, once again, isn't LED but rather traditional bulb setup. There's a chrome grab rail at the back, adding to the functionality for pillion riders while keeping the classic lines of the bike intact. The fender, much like the front, is simple and does its job without trying to stand out too much. What I really like about the overall design is how compact and neat everything feels without looking disproportionate. The bike's dimensions are perfect for city commutes, and for shorter riders, this bike is a blessing, as it's not as tall or bulky as some other models. It's got a nice balance between retro styling and modern-day usability. Now, let's get into the heart of the bike and the engine. Royal Enfield's decision to enter the 125cc segment is a bold one, considering their traditional lineup. The engine is a single-cylinder, air-cooled, 4-stroke unit, typical of what you'd expect in a 125cc. It's not going to break any speed records, but that's not the point of this bike. This is a motorcycle designed for efficiency, reliability, and ease of use. At a glance, the engine produces around 12 horsepower, which is more than adequate for its size and intended purpose. It's a smooth performer, especially at lower speeds, which makes it ideal for urban commuting. The 5-speed gearbox shifts with precision, and the clutch action is light, which is perfect for stop-and-go traffic. Royal Enfield has tuned this engine for a relaxed riding experience. So, If you're expecting the kind of low-end grunt you get from the bigger Enfields, you might be a little disappointed, but what you do get is a refined engine that doesn't feel stressed at all when you're riding through city streets. On open roads, the 125cc engine is capable, though it's not going to give you the same kind of touring experience that Royal Enfields are known for. The bike can comfortably cruise at 60 to 65 kilometers per hour, which is more than enough for most city commutes, but once you push beyond that, the engine does start to feel a little out of breath. That being said, it's important to remember that this bike isn't built for highway touring. It's built to be a practical, stylish, and easy-to-ride city commuter, and it nails that role perfectly. Fuel efficiency is another area where this bike excels. With this 125cc engine, you're looking at around 50 to 55 kilometers/L, which makes it incredibly cost-effective. So, if you're after something that won't break the bank to run, the Royal Enfield 125cc is a strong contender. In fact, the efficiency combined with the style factor makes this bike a unique proposition in the 125cc market. The bike's suspension setup is simple yet effective. Up front, you've got telescopic forks, and at the rear, twin shock absorbers. It's not the most sophisticated setup, but it is the job for a bike of this caliber. The suspension is tuned more for comfort, which again, is perfect for the city. Potholes, speed bumps, and uneven roads are handled well, without sending jolts through your spine. The ride quality is smooth, and even with a pillion, the bike remains stable. Braking is handled by a disc brake up front and a drum brake at the rear. For a bike this light and with this power output, the brakes do an adequate job. The braking feedback is good, though I would have liked to see a rear disc brake, which would have added a little more bite. The bike also comes equipped with a combined braking system, CBS, which is a good safety feature for newer riders, as it helps distribute braking force more evenly between the front and rear wheels. When it comes to performance in the real world, the Royal Enfield 125cc delivers a balanced experience. It's not an adrenaline-pumping ride, but that's not the point of this bike. The real strength of the 125cc lies in its everyday usability. For someone who's commuting to work or running errands in the city, this bike is more than sufficient. It's light, it's agile, and it's incredibly easy to handle, especially for beginners or those who prefer a more relaxed riding style. You're not going to feel the weight of the bike when maneuvering through traffic or parking in tight spaces. Now, let's talk pricing. Royal Enfield has always positioned their bikes as a premium product, even in the smaller engine segments. The 2025 Royal Enfield 125cc is no exception. The starting price for this model is around $2,300, which places it slightly higher than some of its competitors in the 125cc category. However, that's a price you pay for the brand name and the classic styling that comes with owning a Royal Enfield. The build quality, the fit and finish, and the attention to detail all add to the value of this bike. It's not just another commuter, it's a stylish statement, and for a lot of buyers, that's worth the extra cost. There are a few different variants of the 125cc model, with the higher-end models offering a few more cosmetic upgrades, like a better paint finish or slightly different seat materials. You're not going to get drastic performance differences between the variants, so it really comes down to personal preference in terms of aesthetics and whether you want to spend a little extra for those small upgrades. In terms of competition, the 125cc segment is packed with options, especially from manufacturers like Honda, Yamaha, and Suzuki. However, none of these bikes offer the same blend of vintage styling, brand heritage, and modern practicality that Royal Enfield brings to the table. If you're someone who values style and the feel of riding a bike with history behind it, then the Royal Enfield 125cc is definitely worth considering. So, what's the final verdict? The 2025 Royal Enfield 125cc may be a departure from the big, thumping engines we associate with the brand, but it's still every bit a Royal Enfield. It offers a perfect balance of retro styling, modern-day practicality, and fuel efficiency. If you're looking for a daily commuter that stands out from the crowd without sacrificing ease of use, this bike is an excellent choice. Sure, It's not going to give you that adrenaline rush, but it's going to turn heads and give you a solid, reliable ride every